parks, 21 on entering the roads in the town centre and the covered markets, 22 obliged to wear the Jew's star, 23 men on having food reserves, 24 on using libraries, 25 on going to restaurants, 26 on purchasing clothes, 27 on fish, 28 on coffee, chocolate, fruit, condensed milk, 29 special taxes, 30 monthly expenses constantly reduced, 31 shopping restricted to 1 hour a day, known as the Jew's hour. Stühle said to me, "All that writing of yours serves no purpose. The small things everybody knows, and the big things you know nothing about." I answered, "It's not the big things that are important to me, but the everyday life under tyranny, which gets forgotten. 1,000 mosquito bites are worse than a heavy blow to the head. I observe, note down the mosquito bites." It was so hot that I had rolled up my coat with the star and stood there in my jacket without the star. 2 gentlemen addressed me. "We've seen you so often with the Jew's star. Why?" At that point I woke up, completely terrified. When I was young, I used to have dreams where I ended up executed by hanging in a room with a chair. Then it was puberty. Today it is the Gestapo. A card I sent to a friend in Berlin was returned to me today with the note "abgewandert," addressee gone away with no forwarding address. Abgewandert, an innocuous word that needs to be translated as driven from one's home, assaulted, deported, sent to one's death. One can no longer assume that any Jews will return from Poland alive. "1943 started with the capitulation of the 6th German Army in Stalingrad, followed by Rommel's defeat in Africa. I remember asking Eva, defeat or rout? The never-ending enigma. How much longer?"
Wollt ihr den totalen Krieg? Wollt ihr ihn, wenn nötig, totaler und radikaler, als wir ihn uns überhaupt erst vorstellen können? Seid ihr bereit, mit dem Führer als Phalanx der Heimat hinter der offenen Wehrmacht stehend, diesen Kampf mit wilder Entschlossenheit und unbeirrt durch alle Schicksalsfügungen fortzusetzen, bis der Sieg in unseren Händen ist?
Vocabulary of heroism. It is necessary to be of unfailing character. Charakterisch, a new adjective created by the Nazis. Aggressive, kämpferisch. A rare adjective, formerly used only by neo-romantic artists, but also stur, stubborn, Hitler's greatest contribution to the German language. A new word that appeared followed the defeat of Stalingrad. Anfällig, fragile. First used by Goebbels, we have been so spoiled by a long series of victories that we are a little fragile here and there. However, despite our defeats, we are still the masters. Our retreats in Russia are always planmäßig, scheduled. Our front line has never been broken because it is elastic, and the enemy offensives are only making headway im Schneckentempo, at a snail's pace, if at all.
Cäsar, Friedrich der Große und Napoleon im Himmel. Cäsar, wenn ich die Tanks gehabt hätte, ich hätte ganz Germanien erobert. Friedrich der Große, wenn ich die Flieger gehabt hätte, ich hätte ganz Europa erobert. Napoleon, wenn ich Goebbels gehabt hätte, man wüsste heute noch nicht, dass ich die Schlacht bei Waterloo verloren habe.
For me, the whole day was a potato day. I was able to get a sackful with a handcart. The sack was not tied. After 2 steps, the potatoes rolled onto the ground. The handcart I borrowed from the Jewish cemetery, where I had a discussion with the 3 gardeners who were playing cards, as usual, behind the graves. Very depressed, they expect that separation of mixed couples is imminent, which means that either the wife divorces her husband or she is declared Jewish and is evacuated with him. People have long been saying that many of the evacuees don't arrive in Poland alive, that they're being gassed in cattle trucks during the journey, and that the wagon then stops on the way where mass graves have already been dug. Strange, and to me inexplicable, how the Nazis combine public terror and secret brutality. Second of March 1943. About 300 of the 600 Jews who are still alive in Dresden have been imprisoned in a small camp on the outskirts of the town, awaiting their departure for Theresienstadt and Auschwitz. The transport will leave tomorrow morning. Our neighbor, Frau Voss, the Seligsons, Frau Ziegler. I count them all among the dead.
Ich will auch ein ganz schweres Kapitel, will ich hier vor Ihnen in aller Offenheit nennen. Es soll zwischen uns ausgesprochen sein und trotzdem werden wir nicht in der Öffentlichkeit nie darüber reden. Ich meine die Judenevakuierung, die Ausrottung des jüdischen Volkes. Es gehört zu den Dingen, die man leicht ausspricht. Das jüdische Volk wird ausgerottet. Das sagt Ihnen jede Parteigenosse. Ganz klar steht in unserem Programm drin, Ausschaltung der Juden, Ausrottung machen wir, Kleinigkeit. Und dann kommen sie alle die braven 80 Millionen Deutschen, jeder hat seinen anständigen Juden, sagt, alle anderen sind Schweine, der ist ein prima Jude. Und so gesehen, er ist durchgestanden, hat keiner. Von euch werden die meisten wissen, was es heißt, wenn 100 Leichen beisammen liegen. Wenn 500 da liegen oder wenn 1000 da liegen. Und dies durchgehalten zu haben und dabei, abgesehen von menschlichen Ausnahmeschwächen, anständig geblieben zu sein, hat uns hart gemacht und ist ein niemals genanntes und niemals zu nennendes Ruhmesblatt. Wir haben das moralische Recht, wir hatten die Pflicht, unserem Volk gegenüber das zu tun. Dieses Volk, das uns umbringen wollte, umzubringen.
For the Jews, the very idea of owning books has disappeared. Too many are floating around ownerless. Too many have been stolen, been left behind, been passed from hand to hand. Yesterday and today, Eva removed names and book plates from all the books I inherited, which in our language means that their owners gave them to me before disappearing to Theresienstadt or Auschwitz. All the belongings of an evacuee become the property of the state. Owning the thinnest booklet that used to belong to an evacuee is considered as plundering of state property, sabotage, sufficient grounds for a death sentence. Ownerless books, Jews' books. "25th of April 1943, the Willy Schluter Company, medicinal baths and herbal teas. One man stands on a wooden platform and fills the drum through a funnel, a type of hay-like fine cigarette tobacco, brightly coloured granular heather flowers, like the poppy seeds on chocolate biscuits, all kinds of leaves, hazel, peppermint. The filler swallows an incredible amount of dust, which also sticks in his eyes, his nose and mouth. I am the filler. Since yesterday, I've been required for labour service from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. every day. There are about 20 Jews employed here. Their number changes depending on shifts, illness, and arrests. The criteria that the Gestapo uses to choose its victims are more and more mysterious. Julius Berg, who worked here for 2 days, arrested on Wednesday, dead on Friday. Meinhardt, whom I'd hardly seen, arrested and dead the next day. And Conrad, a former teacher, a former soldier like me, arrested on Saturday, dead on Monday. I am like Ulysses in the cave of the Cyclops. The Cyclops says to Ulysses, "You I will eat last."
Weihnachtssingen in einem Berliner Lazarett.
First of January 1944. The paper shortage is so severe that there are no longer calendars with pages to pull off. Instead, newspapers are now publishing a simple list of the days and months of the new year to be cut out and mounted. Time stands still. How many circulars, prohibitions and injunctions there used to be? They're very rare now. Everything has already been prohibited, and there are hardly any Jews left here. I've seen the Jew's house gradually spew out its inhabitants, and every single thing reminds me of the endless list of all those who have disappeared, who are dead, and who all had hoped to survive.
Das Geschenk des deutschen Volkes zum Geburtstag Adolf Hitlers war ein einziges Bekenntnis der Treue zum Führer, des festen Willens zum Kampf und unbeugsamen Widerstand bis zum Sieg. In der Reichshauptstadt, mit dem Wachregiment, ziehen die Berliner die Straße unter den Linden entlang. Der Führer besichtigt an seinem Geburtstag eine Reihe neuer Panzerjägerwaffen und nimmt die Glückwünsche des Reichsmarschalls und der Generäle entgegen.
»6th of June, 1944, early evening. Ava brought me the news that the invasion had begun last night. She was very excited. Her knees were trembling. I myself remained quite cold. I am no longer or not yet able to hope. Krise, crisis, euphemism for defeat, is never used on its own. The crisis is always mastered or momentary. To detract attention from our defeats, it is also called Crisis of Western Humanity. Wehrmacht Bulletin of 2nd of July. In the course of a number of mopping up operations in the French area, 80 terrorists were liquidated. Liquidieren. This is a language of contempt. One liquidates people in the same way a businessman liquidates his business. In order to relegate people to the state of objects, the Nazis prefer to use liquidieren, a word of foreign origin, although the German has many words for kill. Töten, morden, beseitigen, hinrichten. First of September 1944, 5th anniversary of the start of the war. This morning, Hitler Youth Parade with drums and music, fanfares, sounding false just as all the notes of the Third Reich. If only this were the last time. And how long will it take to remove the Nazi filth from these children's heads? »27th of September 1944. Fear of bombing is so great that even Jews are entitled to passive defense drills in the courtyard of the Jew's house. We use imaginary sand and imaginary water to eliminate a phosphorus incendiary bomb represented by a food tin. Chalk circles on ground and walls represent burning phosphorus. Anyone who steps inside is dead. In the evening, a Hitler Youth appeared and summoned us to clear out the rubble from the houses destroyed by the last bombing. The summons was also addressed to a whole number of long since deported and murdered Jews. There was something wrong with the list.
Die Inschrift, die auf allen Häusern steht, LSR, soll nicht heißen, wie man glauben sollte, Luftschutzraum, sondern lernt schnell Russisch. Und nun ein kleines Lied. Es geht alles vorüber, es geht alles vorbei. Auf jeden Dezember folgt wieder ein Mai. Es geht alles vorüber, es geht alles vorbei. Erst geht der Führer und dann geht die Partei. Sie haben allen ihr Wort gebrochen, nur den Juden nicht.
On February the 13th, 1945, when Auschwitz had long been in Russian hands and the Americans were approaching Theresienstadt, we received our evacuation order, which meant an order for a death march. That very evening, the English bombers arrived, and the town was submerged in a storm of fire. In the general chaos, Eva tore the star from my coat, and we fled the town amidst the flow of refugees. During the following months, we wandered through Germany under false names. It was in a small village in Bavaria that I heard for the last time one of Goebbels' speeches.
So wie der Führer die Krisen der Vergangenheit bewältigt hat, so wird er diese bewältigen. Er ist fest davon überzeugt,